So good advice when you're doing a slip stitch collar is to go up a hook size. So I was using a 5mm hook. I'm going to go up to a 5.5. Okay, so we did not fasten off. We're going to chain. So we want to chain double the amount of the length, double the amount of the length of the collar. So we want the collar to be 5 centimeters. So you're going to need to chain until you reach 10 centimeters, okay? And so for me, that was 16 chains. Okay, and now you single crochet, or slip stitch into the second chain from the hook. I was just talking about single crochet. That's why I got confused. And a good tip here, if you always have really tight slip stitches, is to keep this yarn loose, of course, but to also keep this loop on your hook loose. So this is what I mean. Like, don't pull your yarn like this, because then it's going to be really hard to work into your slip stitch. So keep this, your working yarn here, really loose, and also the one, like you can even pull it up and make it loose on your hook. And then you're going to have super loose slip stitches. See, I kind of like pull it up before I even insert my hook. You'll have really nice loose slip stitches. Okay, and you should also always count. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, oops, yikes, my yarn's splitting, come on, 13, 14, 15. Okay, I chained 16, so I have 15 slip stitches. That checks out. All right, good. So this is how we start. And then now to attach it to our collar. So we're gonna skip this stitch that we're working in and slip stitch into the next 2 single crochet setup row stitches. And these slip stitches do not count as stitches. So 1, wow, that was hard. And you can make these tight by pulling them. 2. Okay, and now turn your work to the left, like this. All right, and now skip those first 2 tightly pulled stitches. So 1, 2, skip those, and then loosely slip stitch into the back loops, if I can get it. And make sure you count, because this really helps. 1, especially with slip stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Perfect. And on my last stitch, I am going to work into both loops of the slip stitch, not just the back loop. 15. Because if you just work into the back loop, there's going to be an ugly hole. Because we're doing a double folded collar, the ugly hole doesn't really matter, but it's just really good practice to do that. Okay, and now for row 3. So all odd rows from here on out are going to be like this. Ooh. You turn your work. So I'm back on the right side, turn your work, and then slip stitch all the way down. So again, count. I literally count for every row, so I don't miss a stitch. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, good, 13, 14, 15. So we are on our odd rows. This is how all of our odd rows are going to look. And now slip stitch into the next 2 single crochet set up row stitches and pull that tight. Not too tight though, actually. So if you pull it really tight, oops, if you pull it like super, super tight like I've been doing, then actually your collar might be too small, so don't pull it that tight. I'm going to stop pulling tight like that too. Okay, skip the next 2 stitches. 1, 2, the ones we just did, and then do a single slip stitch back loop only. Okay, so I'm going to do a slip stitch back loop only all the way up, and this is how all of our even rows are going to look. They're going to be on the wrong side and working back up. Just like this. Oh. Good. I'll show you an odd row one more time without a super tight bottom. Okay, 1. I was counting in my head. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Ooh, my yarn's splitting. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, slip stitch into the next 2 single crochet setup row stitches, slightly pull it. All right, and then again, we're going to turn to our left. So by left, I mean turn this way. So, whoop, okay. How you turn does matter because the bottom will look a little different. Okay, and then again, we're going to skip these 2 first single crochet stitches, or skip these first 2 slip stitches. Wow, this is a tongue twister. And then, so 1, 2, slip stitch, back loop only. All right, nice. So you got this idea, and now basically you have to do this all the way around your collar. And I really think you should try this on once you go across the back and across maybe this side of your collar, because if it's too small, you're going to be able to tell. And you just need to try on your collar often, because slip stitch, sometimes it's really hard to tell what your tension will be like. So if it's too tight, then your collar is not going to fit. I tried to make this loose as possible, but we'll see. So anyways, keep going all the way around, try your collar on. If it doesn't fit, you need to size up even more. So if you tend to have really tight tension, you should just size it to like a 6mm or maybe like 2 sizes from your main hook size. Okay, let's meet at the end here. Okay, so I have 2 more single crochet setup rows left. Even if you have 1, you should still go ahead and slip stitch into that one. And then, so let me show you for example. So if you only have 1 left, you can slip stitch into the next one, and then you can slip stitch into like the original place where you chained. So you can have 2 slip stitches, but I have 2 left. It really depends on how many stitches you have on your collar, because we're going to do 2 more rows, 1 up, 1 down, to finish it off. So 1, 2. Okay, let's do the last row. Okay, I'm going to finish the last row. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Perfect. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so find your first original stitch and put a little stitch marker in there. And this is clearly my stitch. So now we're going to just do slip stitch, back loop only, all the way up, but I have to chain 1 here. Okay, so we're gonna slip stitch. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 13, 14. Okay, good. All right, so slip stitch, back loop only, all the way up. Eee. If I could get in there. We all struggle with this, don't worry. Okay. There we go. Okay, keep going. Okay, so I finished slip stitch seaming on the right side of my collar, and now we have to, just to make things easier, we're going to work a single crochet row all the way around into the row ends, so it'll be easier to identify our rows and also like spread them out. Okay, so I didn't chain 1, so I'm going to chain 1 and single crochet into that same row, like the slip stitch seam row. And now you're going to place a single crochet into each row end. And if you can't figure it out, just spread it apart and you can see like the divots are their own row, and then these V's, slip stitches, are their own row. You don't have to be precise about where you put them, but just make sure there's 1 single crochet in every single row, because then it's going to be a lot easier for us when we seam our collar over. And remember, we are on the right side right now. So go ahead, pause your video, finish single crocheting all the way around. Okay, I finished my single crochet rows all the way around, and now we're going to slip stitch into the top of that row, pull it tight, or slip stitch into the top of the single crochet, sorry, pull it tight. And now we're going to fasten off and leave an extremely long tail. You can leave like 30 centimeters. I'm not going to measure it, because if I run out, I'll just join some more yarn. And yeah, let me get my scissors and then we can continue. Okay, so we currently are on the right side of our sweater. So now you are going to fold it inside out so that the wrong side is facing out. Hold on, let me. Okay. The wrong side is now facing out. So we are going to fold the collar inwards like this. Okay. And now the trick, so I'm gonna be seaming this way because I'm right-handed. Now the trick is to slowly stretch out your work. You can even stretch it out and use stitch markers to help. I'm gonna do that. So I know, let's go along this corner here. So basically we're matching up the single crochet stitches that we just did to the single crochet setup rows down here. All right, so let's take a look. Once I get there, I'm gonna move my stitch marker. Okay. So put your yarn on your needle, and I'm going to make sure that I whip stitch into the same place where I joined. So find your little tail and whip stitch into there. Ooh, if you're using mohair, it's also a really good idea to not seam with the mohair, but I already started, so too late. Hopefully it doesn't get tangled. All right, cool. So now we need to just make sure we keep this stretched out and whip stitch our single crochet stitches into the top of our single crochet setup stitches. So you can see the posts here, right? These are our single crochet posts. So it might be hard to see, but here's the post, and then here's the loop to our single crochets. Okay. Oop, that's not it. These are our loops. So we're going to just whip stitch into that top part, and that's it. Just like that. Okay, and find the next one. Oh dear, this is already getting tangly. Find your next post and then that loop. Okay. Let me see. Periodically stretch it out to make sure that you're good. And this is a little tip. If you feel like you are running out of bottom single crochet setup row stitches, just go ahead and go back into that same stitch. And that will actually help you so your collar isn't too tight, because we do not want a tight collar. And it's really important that you also try on your collar before you finish seaming everything up, like before you seam in all of your stitches, all of your loose ends. Okay, nice. All right, yeah, so basically you go ahead and do this all the way around, and then we can meet at the end. And this is what it should look like. And I tried mine on. It looks really nice. Yeah, and so then now you're all finished. So just seam in your ends and you're done.